So first of all, thank you all for coming. So I really appreciate you guys because it is a hard day working. All right. So can you guys tell me how many of you guys have worked with AWS S3? Can you raise your hands? Yeah, Melinda, yeah? Yeah, a lot of people are there. So how many of you guys get in trouble with publicly available in S3s? So like you are giving away S3 bucket access to public users, and public users can expose your bucket and do anything. So they can upload any photo, any video to a S3 bucket. So in our system, we are doing moderating that. So going to the topic. So why content moderation matters? So let's talk about what is content moderation. So let's talk for a scenario. So if we are working on a project, we are working on an app. So we are exposing our app to the public users. Public user can upload videos or else images or any kind of media to our app. But if we don't moderate those images or videos, public users can upload anything. Inappropriate images, violent images, drugs, or any kind of images. If we don't moderate those kind of things, it can affect our brand. Basically, it can ruin our reputation. At the end, basically, it can be a legal case. We can go to court. Yeah, something bad can happen. So the reason why we are using serverless architecture in here, so we are using AWS serverless architecture and also AWS services. We don't have to manage any kind of servers. And also all the serverless architecture services are event driven. And the other thing is we only have to pay per use. So we don't need to pay in the idle time, we only have to pay what we use. And the other thing is, after all, we can do a fast deployment. So shipping our product to the customers as soon as possible. So the services we are using, the first one is AWS Lambda. So Lambda means, Lambda is basically an EC2 server. Let's put EC2 server on the side. So if we are coding on a computer, Lambda is a computer, but it only can execute for 15 minutes only. It's the maximum duration of 15 minutes. It's a code, so we can code without servers. So serverless doesn't mean we are not having any servers. We are having servers. We only don't need to manage those servers. We can do whatever we want. AWS itself manage those servers. So AWS Lambda is a computing server that we can execute our code on. And the Amazon S3 is an object storing bucket. Object storing bucket means we can store PDFs, we can store our videos, we can store anything basically in Amazon S3. And also Amazon SQS. SQS means a queue, basically queue. So if you go to a bank, we have a queue. So we cannot cut the queue. We can, but we shouldn't. So there's a queue. So we have to go in line the queue. And also there is another thing called DLQ, date ladder queue. I will explain that in a bit. So another thing is API gateway. API gateway is the door to our services. So basically, if some user, public user need to get into our app, he has to get through the API gateway. That's why we are using API gateway. Also, we can configure API gateway for rate limit, throttle limit. Also, we can add the WAF. WAF means web application firewall in the AWS. We can whitelist IPs, blacklist IPs, whitelist region. We can do so many things with the API gateway. Also, the main character in here is AWS Rekognition. AWS Rekognition is a computer vision API. So it has trained through lot of images, lot of videos, every kind of celebrities. So like every kind of images it has trained through. So we can do a lot of things. We can identify celebrities, we can identify alcohol, types of alcohol, we can do pretty much anything with the AWS Rekognition service. So the CloudWatch is basically our friend. So when we are developing a very, let's say, very complex app. So it's basically our terminal. So we can see what we are doing on our AWS services. We can trace logs. We can see what are the things we are getting back from the logs. We can do pretty much terminal things in the AWS CloudWatch. So I will give you guys 20 seconds to look at this diagram and get an idea from this. Yeah. If you think this diagram is overly complex, it is not. It is very easy one. I will walk you through this diagram. So first one is in our demo. So we are doing a hands-on demo. So in our hands-on demo, we are requesting pre-signed URL. What is pre-signed URL? I will explain that in a bit. So we are requesting pre-signed URL to API gateway. I explain what is API gateway, and from API gateway we are going to Lambda, and Lambda going to the S3, and S3 will provide us a pre-signed URL. So the user can upload images to the S3 bucket, and then after user uploading images to the S3 bucket automatically trigger SQS, and so the SQS will trigger Lambda. Lambda means content moderation Lambda. Content moderation Lambda will check if the image is inappropriate or it is a bad image or not. If it is bad, we can do a small function to delete that image or whatever we can do. So then we can moderate our content. That is what is basically happening in here. So here is a much more simpler diagram than before. This is what is happening. So initiate the upload, and it's going through API gateway, going to the image bucket. Bucket will trigger SQS. SQS will trigger content moderation service, and through the recognition, and recognition will tell us what is that image is all about. It's bad, it's good, or it is containing anything irrelevant to our app or service, and then we can do whatever we want with that media. Yeah, let's go to the hands-on demo. So, all right. Can you see clearly? Is it all right? Okay. So before doing anything, I will deploy this application. So to deploy application, SLS deploy. So until it is deploying, I will explain what is this about. So for this whole project, I am using serverless. So serverless framework. Serverless framework is something like an infrastructure as a code tool. It's something like Terraform. But Terraform is a bit more complex. No, it is not complex, but it is more advanced to the user. It's a production grade one. But serverless framework is a very easy tool. Even a beginner can understand it within a day and maybe develop a production scale app. So, but a thing in serverless framework is if we have revenue of 1 million or over per month, we have to get a subscription from them. Otherwise, it is totally fine and totally free. So I have a YAML file. So I think all of you guys have familiar with YAML files. So we have a serverless.yml. So serverless.yml is something similar like Terraform. So we can configure all the resources, all the policies, all the IAM roles, all the things in here. So like I have configured my provider as AWS. So we can configure multiple vendors. So like I can configure GCP, Azure, DigitalOcean, any kind of, but in this case I have configured my provider name as AWS. I have used runtime as Node.js 20. So runtime means what is my Lambda running on. It means what is my Lambda running on, and I am deploying my application on Ireland. So it is EU West 1. If I scroll down a bit, this is where the section I am configuring my IAM role. So IAM roles means identity access manager. So identity access manager is what we want to access any kind of services within other services inside AWS. So it's like a secret key to other services inside AWS. So we have to manage. We can add anything secure. So inside AWS, and the other services only can access those one those services like this. Also, there are environment variables inside this YAML file. You can see custom variable in here. You can configure any kind of environment variable. So I have configured my bucket name self.service, self provider stage, moderation image, and my AWS account ID. So if you can see, my application has deployed successfully. So this is my endpoint. So there are two endpoints, post one and get one. Both are similar. So there are two endpoints for my two Lambda functions. Those are here. You can see those endpoints in here. All right. So if I scroll down, there is one function called content moderation. So it's my content moderation Lambda. So it's where the magic happens. It's where the AWS Rekognition is doing all the things inside the content moderation Lambda. So batch size means we are moderating one file per each time. So if we scroll down more, there is another function called generate pre-signed URLs. So if we go down a bit, another function called list images. So those are the functions. So if someone asks me why we are listing 3 different lambdas for each function, so AWS says if we want to list down some functions, so like if we are listing down 3 functions, we have to give each one a lambda. It's a best practice by the AWS. They are telling that in the AWS guides. So if you go into resource section, you can add any kind of thing in here. So like if you want to add a DynamoDB, you can do that. If you want to do a RDS, you can do that also. In here I have managed and I have added AWS S3 bucket, and bucket name as my custom bucket name as in the previously I have configured. And also you can add course values in here. So like you can allow or disallow anything. So like you can basically do anything you can do with the console in the YAML file also. You can do pretty much anything. So I talk about the queue. So I am configuring queue in here also, the SQS queue. So the message retention period is, so when we are getting a message to queue, so we are retaining that image for a particular time. So I am retaining that message for 14 days. So if your app, so responsible for any kind of GDPR or any compliance type of thing, you can update your message retention period as your configuration policies inside the application in the company. And the other one is dead letter queue. Dead letter queue means, so like if something happened to the object, so let's say for example, someone upload the image to S3. S3 will trigger SQS, and SQS go to the Lambda, but Lambda cannot process that image. There is something issue with that image, but or else if the, let's say that image cannot be processed, there is an issue with that image ID is going to the dead letter queue. If we don't configure that dead letter queue, it is not going to any kind of queue, it is going to be vanished. So if we are in a production scale application, so that can be a problem. So if we are doing a production scale thing, we have to configure dead letter queue when we are using any kind of queue. So this is the image queue policy. Image queue policy means, so we have to give each resources with each permission to access each services. So the outputs are basically, after doing all of the things, these outputs will be coming to our terminal. So I will copy this one, copy this URL. All right, and I will go to my front end application. I have made a very simple front end application. So I will go to the page.txs and I will paste this here. I will remove the extensions. Okay. Now, so you remember that we created all the resources with serverless. So the beauty of serverless is, so I will refresh my page. I will go inside this and go to the resource tab also. So I told you that we don't have to even log into the AWS itself. We just need to configure AWS credentials, so basically access ID and secret key in our local PC. So the serverless will be automatically creating all the services, all the policies, all the things automated by itself. We just need to create the app. But in the other way, we have to go to the log into the console, we have to attach policies, we have to create roles, and we have to attach basically roles to the other services. It's a disaster. So you can see all the services I have configured and all the status, like in here it is all the things are completed. Let's go to the template. So you can see something similar to serverless.yml in here also. This is called the cloud formation template. So I told about Terraform. There is a tool called IAC tool called Terraform, and also there is a tool called Serverless Framework. And also now I telling about CloudFormation. What is CloudFormation? CloudFormation is the IAC tool provided by AWS itself. It's a JSON template. We can do all the things related to AWS and initialize resources, delete resources, manage resources, do any kind of AWS related things with the CloudFormation template. But the issue in here, do you know anyone can give me the answer? What is the issue here? Can anyone say the what issue here? Yeah, the issue in here, we have to be vendor logged in. If we use this one, we cannot use GCP, we cannot use Azure, we cannot use any other cloud providers. So the solution to that is using something like Terraform or Serverless Framework. But the beauty, there is one thing beautiful in here. If we go to the infrastructure as composer, previously it was calling application composer. I don't know why they changed the name. If I click on here, it will go to a different page with the beautiful diagram. Yes, isn't that beautiful? So I see this is very beautiful. So if I have to show, so I'm going to be truthful to all of you. So sometime I'm showing off in my university projects. So like if I am doing a cloud related project, I can generate all the services in here like automatically template. So if I'm using serverless, Terraform, anything, if you go to the CloudFormation and infrastructure composer, all the services in the AWS automatically drawn in here as a cloud architecture diagram. You can see that and get a screenshot or maybe get a PDF and embed in your university project or any kind of thing. So basically you can do that. And the other thing here, if you know this service is a no code tool. So you know AI is taking our developers' jobs. It is not actually taking, it's a different story. So like we can use any AWS related service in here. It's pretty much anything, not all of them. Basically most used services are listed in here. If you want to attach a policy, you can do that. So I will give you a very small example. I will click on API gateway and drag and drop here. Also I can click on the node in the left corner. I can attach it somewhere like in here. You can do pretty much anything with this no code tool. Isn't that beautiful? So I created a bucket. So if you remember, so if I refresh, so can you see the bucket? So this is my S3 bucket. The first one is my bucket name and the other one is account ID at the end. All right. Now I have copy paste my endpoint. So this is my small front end Next.js application, and I will refresh this one before doing anything. Okay. Now before doing anything else, the first one we are testing any application is we have to monitor logs. So how do we monitor logs in serverless framework? One way is we can log into AWS console. We can monitor logs in the AWS console CloudWatch Logs. So since we are doing almost everything in our local PC, do we have to log into the AWS? So a lazy way is there is a small command related to serverless. serverless logs dash dash function content moderation. Content moderation is the CloudWatch log group name and dash dash tail. If we click on that, it will take like around 5 seconds. It is authenticating our AWS credentials, and it will lively listen to our all the API calls to our application. So we can lively monitor anything related to AWS with this command. So I am going to my small app and click on this, and I will upload an image. Now it is uploading. Give it a few time. Now it has uploaded. If you go inside here, it is still listening. Did you see any kind of latency issue in here? So everyone saw that, like it took around 3 to 4 seconds, even though it has successfully uploaded. Any of you guys can guess what is the issue? What was the issue? Can any of you guys guess? If you can remember, I said something about call start at the beginning. Lambda has a call start, so it's not a very big issue, but it can be an issue when we are doing something very fast. So like stock trading application, any kind of thing regarding like very fast thing. So we have to get an idea about the call start. Now AWS says these days it is something around millisecond level call start, but you saw here it took around 1 to 2 seconds. It can be different on the runtime you are using. I have used Node.js 20, but if you are using like Python, latest Python one, it will take around millisecond level. Python is very fast, and if you can use Go, it will take much more low latency than Python. Now if I scroll up, you can see a lot of logs in here, so we don't need those. I will scroll down. You can see processing image. So like processing, so basically upload slash, so uploads mean my directory. So if I go into my S3 bucket, I will refresh. Inside there you can see upload directory. This is what is upload directory, and it is starting to moderate for our images, and it is calling Rekognition API, and Rekognition response got nothing. It's an empty list. Can you guys say what's the issue here? Is there an issue? Can you guys say anything? Is there an issue? There is no issue because that image is not having anything bad inside that image. If I scroll down, so it has successfully moderated. It's saying no inappropriate content detected and successfully processed all records. And if I navigate to my small app, it is showing here in the image gallery also. And if I navigate also to the drop down image, and I will select something toxic, so like I have a image of a like cocaine, I don't know, something of a drug. I will upload that image. Now it is uploading. It has uploaded. Now if I go to the listening one, you will see something will appear in a second. Yeah, you saw that. Now the processing of the image has started. Starting moderation of 4 images, calling Rekognition. Now our Rekognition response has a list. There is a confidence level, name and parent name and taxonomy level, and there are so much kind of things. That image include pills and also drugs. There are some kind of bad things in those in that image. So you can see our Rekognition API recognized that it got something bad, and it deleted that image from our S3 bucket. If you go inside our app, that image is not appearing in our image gallery. So that is what is basically content moderation is about. If we, so you might ask, the only thing what can we do with the Rekognition API? The only thing is it deleting inappropriate images? No, we can do a lot of things. So for basic example, I have built a small app for my university third year project. So basically it is recognition faces. So if I upload my face, it will recognize as I am Madhura. So I am not a celebrity, everyone doesn't know me, and also AWS doesn't know me. How AWS recognize my image? We can do custom labels with AWS recognition. So you can upload your image and train for free with AWS recognition, for free. So it's basically free. So you can train for free, but using API will cost you, not for training, but for using, but for recognition only. There are a lot of kind of object recognition, character recognition, celebrity recognition. There are thousands of things you can do with AWS recognition. All right. So what are the best practices? So if we are doing or building a production grade application, there are best practices we have to follow. The first one is S3 pre-signed URLs. The S3 pre-signed URLs means, so if you are giving your access to the S3 bucket to public users, maybe from backend or maybe from front end, it doesn't matter. If you are giving you access to the public user, you don't give public ACL, access control list enable, from the S3 bucket. You only giving access to the image or particular data from that S3 bucket. You will give the user to the only for that image and for a particular time period. So like if I upload an image, I am giving away my URL to that image to a user. If that user is going to share that image all over Reddit, all over X, all over Facebook or any kind of social media, if that traffic is going to be in my bucket, the cost is going to be my pocket. So basically I'm going to get the charge. So that's why we are using S3 pre-signed URLs. The S3 pre-signed URLs will be automatically expired within configured time. In here I have configured it as 1 hour. We can configure it is as your any kind of time. So you can expire your bucket image within 1 minute, 2 minutes or any kind of time. And the other one is you need to use least privilege IAM roles, identity access manager roles. So if you are only listing images from S3 bucket, you don't have to attach the put or patch access to the S3 bucket. So you only need to list privilege IAM roles since you are only accessing get images. The second one is reliability. Reliability means, so I told you what is dead letter queue. We can configure dead letter queues. So if we are having unaccessible, unprocessable app images or videos inside our application, so we can manage that image in the dead letter queue. Also CloudWatch is for monitoring, and the other one is scaling choices. So in this application we have used SQS, but if we are having an application millions of levels of image uploaders for second, we have to use something like Kinesis. The bad thing about it, it will cost much more higher. It will cost much more higher. The other one is AI won't replace human, because human review will be every day needed in the future, any kind of thing. So you can add something like ask for appeal for that image. So like let's for example, someone upload image is not a bad image, but our AWS recognition can have false positives, can have false negative. It can messed up because it's a computer at the end, right? That's because we need human review at that. We can add the appeal button to our image, and also we can configure global CDN with CloudFront. CDN is a content delivery network. So what is CDN? So if we are accessing, so basically my app in Ireland, but if I'm going to access that image, I'm going to access from Ireland servers. It is not very cost efficient, and also it is going to be lot of latency to our image. But if we are configuring CloudFront, since I'm in Sri Lanka now, I can access that image from Singapore, because our nearest AWS edge location located in Singapore. There are 200 something, like 260 something edge location all around the world. So like we can access that image from Singapore. That is way more faster. So for every service, there are pros and cons. So all of us know there are some cons and there are some pros. So first one is it's highly scalable. We don't need to manage any kind of scalability in here. It will be automatically scale up, scale down as the users are coming or not. So we don't have to manage those servers. We don't have to configure those servers. We don't need to pretty much do anything. At the first time, we can manage, like we can add RAM, we can configure Lambda as having a 2 GB RAM or 1 GB RAM. We can do something like that, but we don't need to manage time to time. And also it's pay as you go option for all the serverless services. And the other one is basically is a managed service. We don't have to manage, and is at the end is the reason for fast, rapid development. And the challenge is the use of the actually what was happening in the cold start latency is the initial startup delay. So there is some workaround for that. So there is a warm standby method, but it is going to be cost. But there is a called warm standby in the Lambda also. And the other one is Lambda has a 15-minute execution limit, but we can resolve that one using step function. Is basically chain Lambdas together. So like 15 minutes and after then again 15 minutes like step function. And also we can configure easiest with Fargate. Easiest with Fargate means easy to, but it is serverless, easy to serverless. And also we can use the AWS batch also. And from AWS Rekognition, we have a 15 megabyte max image size. We can give a solution, we can compress that image. But there can be some scenarios where your company compliance not regulating that one. Some companies or some projects can have a different compliance due to GDPR or something like that due to their country. If we cannot modify any kind of image, you can use Amazon SageMaker. Amazon SageMaker is a model training, model deploying. You can do anything related to machine learning with Amazon SageMaker. And thank you very much. So I have my project in the GitHub, and also I have written an article. I will share this slide with you guys or in the Slack channel. So thank you very much guys for coming and listening to my talk. So I hope you get something out of this one. And that's it. Thank you very much guys. Yes. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Okay.
Online, if you guys have any questions for Madhura, you can ask.
Guys, you can hear me, right? If you guys have any question, you can hear us. Okay.
Upload, right?
Yeah.
But we can configure it, right? We can configure a policy in a way that we should be able to upload photos of certain categories. So let's say, can we do it from the recognition? Or
Yes. Good question, Hasraye. So like for example, so we are going to weddings. So weddings have liquor. Maybe like people are smoking. There can be photos of people are smoking or people are drinking. So very good question. So in Rekognition, it is only giving us the labels within that image. The deleting function is developed by me. So it is not deleting, it is giving us labels. When I'm receiving those labels, I am configuring my image to be deleted from the S3. It's only giving us the labels. I think I gave you the answer.